In the headlines, the UWP to hold meetings in Roseau with slight adjustments after police chief refuses permission for a march on Thursday. Police called Dr. Sam Christian in for a witness interview regarding public disturbances on February 7 and job creation within the manufacturing sector projected to exceed 300 for the 2017-2018 period. I am Kenny Williams with the Channel 5 News. Back with the details after this. First up, the police chief may have denied a request by the opposition to hold a march in Roseau on Thursday, but the leader of the opposition says their effort will continue with a slight change in logistics. In a letter dated March 24, the police chief turned down the UWP's request to hold a march in Roseau, pointing to public safety and national security concerns. Mr. Linton says they now have 2 meetings planned instead of the previously planned march.
One on the Pottersville Savannah, on the Hardcourt area there, at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So we will be, the folks of Roseau North have agreed to host the brothers and sisters from all over Dominica, all of the farmers and the fishermen and the carpenters and the plumbers and the masons and the people of good conscience, the Christian people of good conscience, all of the mothers and daughters, the sons and fathers, all of the elderly and the young people. From every nook and cranny of Dominica will be coming first to Roseau North to their brothers and sisters there and to have that engagement at 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. And then on Thursday evening, 7 o'clock, the folks of Roseau Central will be hosting their brothers and sisters from all over Dominica in the city, in the capital city, at the mecca of political discussion, the Trade Union Hall, Steppenlago.
The opposition leader says even if the logistics have changed, the message remains the same. He says the UWP is concerned that the spirit of democracy and the rule of law in the country have been impaired, and that's part of the reason for his call for the Prime Minister's resignation. While Cabinet has been holding town hall meetings around the country, the UWP has been holding its own meetings on various issues, including electoral reform.
We have been on this, as somebody pointed out, since 2005. There was a commitment in 2008 from the Electoral Commission that they were going to move ahead with the reforms, and they were going to have ID cards for voting, they were going to clean the list, and they were going to commit to other reforms as well. Our electoral reform agenda is very simple, you know. We want ID cards for voting, we want the list of electors clean, we want an accurate list of electors, we want access to media in Dominica equal to the government. We also want to see campaign finance reform. So we have laid out, for the benefit of the Electoral Commission, our thoughts in the parliamentary opposition on what constitutes electoral reform that will give us elections with integrity as the safe, reliable backbone of our democracy in Dominica.
Mr. Linton says in the absence of electoral reform, the people have a duty to ensure that the election does not happen. Executive member of the Dominica Freedom Party, Dr. Sam Christian, believes there are bigger issues for the police service to look into rather than seek his assistance into public disturbances that took place on February 7. Dr. Christian was responding to a March 27 letter from Chief of Police Daniel Carbon. In it, Dr. Christian is asked to make himself available for a witness interview at police headquarters in Roseau on April 3 from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The letter also states that police is conducting investigations into the public disturbances following a February 7 public meeting on Kennedy Avenue.
Well, first of all, I just heard from my attorney, Joshua Francis, and we will be formulating a response to that. But what I can say just off the cuff is that I can understand if somebody misspoke and said that a truck was going to make a coup outside the financial center, but we should not really prolong, this comedy. And so we are not really impressed by that at all. This event was probably the most intense surveillance of all. So the police probably know 10 times as much about this event than I do. There's nothing other that I can contribute except to say that I spoke for a short time and I invited people to kneel down and pray.
He was arrested and charged with incitement to burn down Parliament and released on bail with no conditions attached on February 2. The charge was based on an address he gave in 2015. Other lead stories, Dominica is taking steps to upgrade its Telecommunications Bill to Electronic Communications Bill. Andrea Louis has that story.
Managing Director of the Eastern Caribbean Telecommunications Authority, ECTEL, along with the National Telecommunications Regulatory Commission, NTRC, met with cabinet members on Tuesday regarding the proposed bill. ECTEL is the regulatory body for telecommunications in its member states and is made up of 3 components, namely a Council of Ministers, a Regional Directorate, and an NTRC in each member state. During an interview with Channel 5 News, ECTEL's managing director said Tuesday morning's meeting with cabinet members was fruitful and the need for a new bill comes against the backdrop of a changing communications environment.
What we did this morning was to make a presentation on the new Electronic Communications Bill. It's a draft bill. It's a bill that's supposed to be a harmonized piece of legislation for all the 5 ECTEL member states. The Electronic Communications Bill, it's responding to what we call convergence in the sector. Before, recently, like the last, say 10 years ago, you had services delivered on what we call different platforms. For instance, a broadcaster needed a particular set of frequencies to broadcast. A mobile provider needed another set of platforms to provide their services. If you had to do a data service, for instance, it was separate from your phone service. You would have about 3 lines into your house. With the era of convergence, everything is on the same platform. So it's now called electronic communications as opposed to just telecommunications. Hence the reason why the rules have to change.
A consultation with civil society and telecommunications providers will be held on Wednesday to further discuss the proposed bill.
One of the striking features of the new legislation is that prior to now, there was no reference for consumer protection in our legislation. It was really about managing the disputes between service providers. It was about the service as opposed to the people who consume the service. Also making sure that parties interested in providing services who don't want to be big operators can do that, and they can buy certain services at a wholesale rate from the major providers. In the current scenario, you have there were a number of providers doing cable operations. Now it is boiled down to 2. So you see the competition is narrowing. If we do not set rules for that, it would be almost impossible for a small operator to go to them and say, well, I want to buy X amount of space on your cable.
Thus far, 3 other ECTEL member states have been visited by the managing director with the proposed Electronic Communications Bill.
One of the issues which cuts across all the countries is the issue of addressing net neutrality in the legislation. Net neutrality is really a principle which states that service providers must not block any access to the internet by any consumer. There are other issues which came up, to do with the impact of the legislation as far as increasing the power of the regulator. Some have been arguing that in this day and age we should be regulating less than more. But clearly there's reason why you do something, because existing rules are failing and consumers need protection. The intent is that before the end of this year, that the countries would at least take the bill to their respective parliaments for discussion.
Member states of ECTEL are Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Andrea Louis, Channel 5 News.
Farmers in the Salisbury constituency told they should demonstrate greater care for their feeder roads after they've been repaired. Agriculture Minister Johnson Drygo told residents at a town hall meeting on Monday that there were simple steps that could be taken to help preserve the roads. Under the BAM program, there are 3 feeder road projects being undertaken in the constituency: the Salisbury, Syndicate, and Opiton feeder roads costing $13 million. In total, government will spend $50 million on feeder road rehabilitation around the country.
You have to see the feeder road leading to your farm as the road leading to where you are making your livelihood. And we expect you to keep the drains clear at all times. Because I drove on the Salisbury road in particular. We went right across that road. And 80% of the damages I saw on the road is because of the farmers not contributing to maintaining the road. The young trees I saw in the drains, the shrubs, the young coconuts, and all of these things blocking the drains. When heavy rain, the water has to find a way out. And the only way the water could find was to cut through the road. Water has to go out, you can't stop water. So therefore, the onus is on you, the farmers who are driving up. And I saw so many pickups, four-wheel drives on this road. Nobody's stopping to move, not even a coconut branch from a drain. This cannot continue.
A comprehensive housing program to be undertaken in the Salisbury constituency. News of that project was disclosed during Monday's town hall meeting in Monratchet. That program will target single parents, particularly women who are unable to build a home of their own. DLP caretaker for Salisbury constituency says this new program is above and beyond what government has already invested in housing assistance in the area.
But I must say, from 2014, November 2014 to present, the government has spent $465,000 in assisting people with the housing in this constituency. 465,000. $30,000 less than $500,000 has been spent here in this constituency on housing. And I must note that over 200,000 of these went to Salisbury Village only. So when the people say that nothing is being done.
Esprit explained that the Housing Division will make the necessary assessment of the housing needs and provide government with labor and material costs. Coming up, the U.S. Ambassador on diplomatic passports and the CBI. Thanks for staying with us. Over 300 jobs will likely be created in the manufacturing sector throughout the year and into 2018. This, according to outgoing president of the Dominica Manufacturers Association, Severin McKenzie, will depend on a proposed government loan facility. McKenzie was at the time speaking at the DMA's annual general meeting on Monday evening.
If the assistance that we are looking for is made available for the manufacturing sector, we will create within the next 12 months about 340 new jobs within the manufacturing sector. Because the proposal that we have actually presented to government is one where we are seeking assistance to improve and expand the manufacturing facilities on island.
Prime Minister Skerritt said the loan would be offered at an interest rate of 3%. Minister for Commerce and Small Business Development, Rosalind Paul, has given assurances that the loan facility is in the making. During elections at Monday's AGM, Haitian businessman Petit Louis Axeus and Chinese businesswoman Stella Zhang were appointed to serve on the DMA's executive. Also elected are Jean-Yves Bonnier, Athenia George. Also elected were Jean-Yves Bonnier, Athenia George, Henrietta Seraphine, Bernard Shaw, Sonia Nestor, Mattel Daniel, and Severin McKenzie. McKenzie says the assignment of positions will be done when they meet at their first executive meeting next week. In other stories, an export and marketing specialist says he's encouraged by Dominica's ranking in the World Bank Group's 2017 Doing Business report. Among 190 economies, Dominica placed 101 in the Ease of Doing Business report. Dominica scored higher than its CARICOM counterparts of Antigua and Barbuda, which ranked 113, Barbados at 117, St. Vincent and the Grenadines ranking 125, and St. Kitts and Nevis 134. Dr. Peter Alfred of Margot says he is pleased that government has facilitated certain conditions to boost the local business climate. Alfred, a doctor of philosophy in economic development policy, was the keynote speaker at the DMA's AGM.
The pivotal role of government in creating the appropriate environment for business to thrive is further manifested by the annual publication of the World Bank Group flagship report, Doing Business 2017, which gives an indication of the level of facilitation of business activities and by extension exports, which occurs in 190 nations across the globe. In the 2017 report, Dominica is ranked mid-table at number 101. Countries in the region which are ranked above Dominica are Jamaica at number 67, St. Lucia at number 86, and Trinidad at number 96. From a regional perspective, Dominica's position is commendable. We are followed by Belize at number 112, Antigua number 113, Barbados at 117, right down to Grenada at number 138. Relative to our regional neighbors, as far as this index is concerned, the government is getting something right. But, as is generally the case, more has to be done.
The report, which assessed reforms put in place last year by countries to enhance business activity, found that Dominica made paying taxes less costly by reducing the corporate income tax rate. Data in Doing Business 2017 are current as of June 1, 2016. 10 indicators were used to measure the ease of doing business in each country. That includes starting a business, dealing with construction permits, getting electricity, registering property, getting credit, protecting minority investors, paying taxes, trading across borders, enforcing contracts, and resolving insolvency. Dr. Alfred noted that based on these indicators, measures to facilitate the business climate is entirely a government undertaking.
The fact that the vast majority of the aforementioned indicators fall directly under the purview of the state gives an indication of the power that the political directorate possesses as it relates to the establishment of the appropriate set of conditions which are required for businesses to start and prosper.
U.S. Ambassador to the Eastern Caribbean, Linda Tagliatella, says stricter vetting is required by Caribbean nations in issuing diplomatic passports to individuals who do not hold parliamentary positions. Her Excellency Tagliatella was at the time being interviewed by Dominican journalist Ken Richards, who's based at St. Kitts Win FM. The ambassador spoke to whether the U.S. had any concerns about the issuance of diplomatic passports by Caribbean governments, saying greater transparency is needed.
This is probably a little bit more of a concern to the United States in that there is no vetting process to these individuals. These individuals are selected. Now, in talking to Caribbean nations, I understand they're very small islands. The world is very large. Sometimes you need to have diplomatic representation in countries where you just don't have enough people to put a diplomatic representative there, and you may in fact seek out someone else to do your representation. The problem is again, there needs to be a process by which those individuals are vetted, by which those individuals are then approved by a group of people, whether it's your parliament or whether it's a special panel set up by the Prime Minister. But there needs to be something that is transparent and regularized so that people just don't get diplomatic passports.
And while U.S. Ambassador to the Eastern Caribbean has said the U.S. does not interfere with the way CBI programs in the region are run, she observes proper due diligence is necessary. On the question of possible irregularities in the citizenship by investment programs in the region, the ambassador had this to say.
The United States does not tell governments what to do, and certainly we don't tell them whether to have a program or not. Again, we go back to due diligence. And if you're going to offer your citizenship to individuals outside of your country, we just want to make sure that you have a program set up that will provide you with the security you need to ensure that you know who you're giving the citizenship to. Again, we have worked with the various countries and talked to them about what we consider to be acceptable criteria. One of the things, and I know I understand why some of the countries are reluctant, I would prefer that each country require the individual to come to the country, to be fingerprinted and have their fingerprints on file, like for passport purposes and other things. I would feel more comfortable because then you know who you're dealing with, and if you have biometric data on individuals, you can perform additional checks and balances on people.
Dominica requires applicants to submit a police record with fingerprints from country of birth and country of residence where necessary. Of the 5 Eastern Caribbean countries with CBI programs, Antigua and Barbuda requires an applicant to visit the country to collect their passport and to take the oath of affirmation of allegiance, or to visit an embassy, high commission, or consular office of Antigua and Barbuda to collect the passport and to take the oath of affirmation of allegiance. The applicant is also required to be physically present for at least 5 days over 5 years to maintain Antiguan citizenship. In the case of of Dominica, Grenada, St. Lucia, and St. Kitts and Nevis, there is no mandatory interview requirement or residency or visitation requirement to maintain citizenship. However, in Dominica and St. Kitts, the applicant may be requested to attend an interview during the application process at the discretion of the authorities. Ambassador Tagliella Teller says she believes the CBI offering countries in the region should set up uniform standard for the citizenship application process. She acknowledged that each country has a due diligence process in which they conduct background checks on applicants.
I think that there are people who would like a second passport because it gives them greater freedom to travel. There are other people who are looking for a second passport because it alters their identification in some way. If in fact you're not requiring people, if you only require people to bring you certain pieces of paper, many of them can be fraudulent. And I'm not to say that most people that's probably not true, but you just need one individual who comes up with and pays for documents. So it's easier to, I think that you have to do the due diligence. You have to make sure you know who you're talking to. You have to know what you're going, what their intent is, why they want a second passport, and what is it that they're going to contribute to the country when they become a citizen of that country.
That's news. Your sports highlights next. First up in sports, St. Mary's Academy dethroned the defending champions Dominica State College by an innings and 22 runs to become the new champions of the Massey United Insurance Under-20 Cricket League on Tuesday. DSC batted first and were bowled out for 63 runs. Dion Burton scored 20. Daniel Dupini took 6 for 32. In reply, SMA reached 186. Taj Tavernier had a game high of 82, while Daniel Dupini added 66. Batting a second time, DSC was all out for 101, with their highest scoring batsman in that match being Delroy Ogiest's 27. Taj Tavernier is captain of the SMA side.
Well, it's a really good feeling after a long time playing for SMA. It really means a lot winning a championship for SMA. We had a really all-around performance. Starting with the ball to bowling out for 63 was a very great achievement. And then coming back to bat, getting 189, that was really good from the team. And then bowling them out again was really good. All-around performance.
All right,
The players were a bit lackadaisical. They felt that they won the game already, but we still had to keep on putting the pressure on the college team and bowling well and feeling well and taking our catches and all that.
Meantime, captain of the college team said poor performance on the first day cost them the match.
Well, I thought our batting went wrong yesterday afternoon. We didn't really stick around in the crease. We were playing like it's T20 and that really didn't help us. Well, we will take this loss as a motivation into next year. I think new players coming in, I think they'll help us step up next year. The competition was well organized. Most common the SMA team, they really played discipline. They were in their bowling, very disciplined in their batting as well. And I think they really played an all-round cricket performance.
Moving on to football, where Northeast Comprehensive defeated Orion Academy 3-1 at the Stock Farm Complex in the only match possible in the DFA Sports Division Secondary School Girls League on Monday. Lana Jack, Jana Carbon, and Laurencia Nichols scored 1 each for Northeast Comprehensive, with Christelle Victorine scoring 1 for Orion. In basketball, Northeast Comprehensive defeated Isaiah Thomas Secondary in their return match at the Massac Hart Court on Monday. The keenly contested match was characterized by many ties and lead changes, but at the end of the regulation, the scores were 41-43 in favor of NECS. Jesry Frederick had 23 points, 10 rebounds, and 3 steals for the winning team, with 10 points, 15 rebounds, and 4 steals from Kimisha John Baptist. For ITSS, Sharice Joseph had 16 points, 13 rebounds, 6 steals, and Sujeta Coffey, 15 points, 14 rebounds, and 8 steals. On to international cricket, where India won the 4th test against Australia by 8 wickets on Tuesday. Resuming on 19 without loss, India scored 106 for 2 in 23.5 overs to equal the target of 106 for victory. Final scores: Australia 300 and 137, India 332 and 106 for 2 in 23.5 overs. India won the 4-match series 2-1. Player of the match went to Ravindra Jadeja. Meantime, South Africa trailed by 95 runs with 5 wickets remaining on day 3 of the test against New Zealand on Tuesday. Taking a look at the highlights, South Africa batted first and made 314 all-out with 90 from Quinton de Kock and 50 from Hashim Amla. Matt Henry picked up 4 for 93. New Zealand answered with 489 all-out with a solid 176 from Kane Williamson, Jeet Rival 88 and Tom Latham 50. Morn Morkill 4 for 100 and Kigi Sorabada 4 for 122. Batting a second time, South Africa reached 80 for 5 at the end of the 4th day. Wake Up Stars from Portsmouth have booked a spot in the finals of the White Oak Rum Domino competition following their performance in the semi-finals.
In the semi-finals played yesterday at Ronda's Bar, they got the better of Dolphin from Scottshead by 412 points. Final scores, Wake Up Stars 4,020, Dolphin 3,598. Wake Up Stars will now play the dangerous Public Enemies in the grand final starting on Sunday in the Indian River Bar in Portsmouth.
Meantime, W.S. Stevens Primary School recently won the championship title of the Fruit-O-Lay Primary School's Domino Championships.
They defeated last year's champions, the St. Luke's Primary, by 154 points in the grand finals. Final scores, W.S. Stevens 476 points, St. Luke's 322. The competition was sponsored by Fine Food Inc.
Sports teacher of the winning school says their hard work paid off.
It's our first time in the competition. We train very hard. We practice basically almost every day at lunch, our lunch break. So we are very excited to be crowned champions here today.
Finally, we have results from the most recent games played in the Grand Prix table tennis competition. In the senior category, we had a Donald Corriott coming in first, followed by Dane Taylor and Juanito Aaron. Topping the male under 13, we have a Giovanni Robinson, followed by Joel Robin. In the female category of the same age group, we have Sandra Joseph and Star Humphreys coming first and second, respectively. In the under 15s, Rosalinda Paul came first, followed by Chesley Charles for the female class, while Ernest Edwards topped his class with Giovanni Peters next. Finally, in the under 20, Jalil Luis came first, then Chia Seaman for the male category. Aliyah Prince and Trish Dorset first and second for the female. The table tennis Grand Prix competition is expected to take place once per month. That's all the sporting highlights for now. I am Kenny Williams. Join us next time. We check in now with the Met Office for the latest weather update.
Good evening, viewers. Welcome to tonight's weather broadcast. I am Janelle Macpherson. Weak and stable conditions continue to be the dominant feature today, resulting in occasionally cloudy skies across the Lesser Antilles. Visible satellite imagery today showed partly cloudy skies across Dominica this afternoon. Radar imagery indicated a few scattered showers across the island chain today. The weather for tonight, partly cloudy to cloudy with a few scattered showers. Similar conditions are expected tomorrow. Seas tomorrow slight to moderate with waves peaking up to 5 feet. For the next 3 days, weak unstable conditions will continue to produce occasionally cloudy skies and some scattered showers. Throughout the Caribbean tomorrow, partly cloudy skies and some scattered showers are expected. On the international cities forecast, clear skies expected in New York and Miami, partly cloudy conditions expected in Beijing, overcast skies in London, and thunderstorm activity in Caracas. Sunrise tomorrow at 6:03 a.m. and sunset at 6:18 p.m. For up-to-date weather information, please call our weather hotline at 447-5555 or visit our website at weather.gov.dm. Thank you for viewing and have a good night.
To end the news, the headlines again. The UWP to hold meetings in Roseau with slight adjustments after police chief refuses permission for a march on Thursday. Police called Dr. Sam Christian in for a witness interview regarding public disturbances on February 7 and job creation within the manufacturing sector projected to exceed 300 for the 2017-2018 period. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Kenny Williams. To our viewers around the world, we thank you for watching. Join us tomorrow.